All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So in this one, I really wanted to ask the question here, will skipping mandatory minicamp for the New York Jets, it was originally scheduled for this week, June 13th through the 15th, will canceling this period of the offseason, this mandatory part of the offseason, help or hurt the team? I feel like I've seen a ton of different opinions, right, on both sides of the spectrum. And I kind of wanted to give my take, point at the pros and the cons of it, but I would love to hear yours, where you guys stand down below in the comments section. I feel like opinions really vary. They're all over the map. And I've heard some that are saying, hey, the Jets are complete idiots. They're morons here. Why are they skipping mandatory minicamp? And then others are saying, the New York Jets are absolute geniuses, right? They're skipping mandatory minicamp. This is perfect. It works out for where their team's currently at. So let's dive into it. I think for me, the biggest pro in the Jets skipping this 3-day period here is you're reducing injury risk. I'm going to put a couple graphs on the screen. And I know at first it might be like a little overwhelming, like, man, a lot of players, what is this showing me? Like what's going on here? Basically, these graphs are the list of injured players that the New York Jets had last season. It ranges from players that were like doubtful to players that flat out were on IR from weeks 1 through the end of the season, week 18. And as you can see, there's a lot of red. There's a lot of missed time here from a lot of different starters, right? We know what happened at Breece Hall and AVT and Mekhi Becton. We don't have to go through every single situation to know that the Jets were extremely banged up last year. It was super frustrating to watch, super disappointing to get the news. If my memory serves me correctly, I actually believe we got the news the same day that AVT and Breece Hall were both season-ending injuries. And I remember just going to bed that night thinking to myself, like, man, two young, promising core pieces on the squad are just done for the year at like the snap of a finger. And I was pissed. Let's take a look back at 2022, the year prior, because it's not just like anybody... it's football, it's contact, it's a contact sport. Players get hurt. We all know this. It happens to every team, pros, college, high school. Injuries happen. And we all know this here as Jets fans, there is a real unfortunate trend with this football team. It's injuries from year to year. I feel like every single season, key pieces, bigger named guys, new free agent acquisitions, they're all getting hurt, right? This is the 2022 graph. And as you can see, it's a lot of the same. It's a lot of the same here. And, it's obviously there's nothing really that you can do about it. Whether it's bad luck, whether it's how the team is going about what they're doing. But what's apparent here is we can go through the list, right? We can go through all the years of the New York Jets in recent memory here, and guys consistently get hurt. And I hate to say it, I wish we weren't in this position, and it's not a guarantee that these guys are going to be hurt again, or we're going to have a ton more injuries next season or next, training camp and preseason. But I do think that this is a silver lining of skipping mandatory minicamp, right? We're canceling out this 3-day period where guys are flying around early in the offseason here, summer, mid-June. Guys aren't 100%. People are still shaking off the rust. It's hard to kind of go from like 0 to 100 like that. Granted, it's not contact or anything. I completely get it. But, there is a chance of injury here. And we've seen a couple guys get hurt in voluntary OTAs, like 7-on-7s, little positional drills and whatnot. Aaron Rodgers tweaked his calf. CJ Uzama got banged up the other day. Allen Lazard went down awkwardly, and thankfully it wasn't anything serious. But I remember looking at those tweets, I think it was the first day of voluntary OTAs, where they were open to the media. It was like Allen Lazard is like on the ground screaming in pain, and Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be participating because he hurt his calf. I'm reading those tweets thinking to myself, like, what is going on? It's day 1 of voluntary OTAs. This cannot be happening. So that's the bottom line, reducing injury risk. Number 2, like Saleh alluded to, there is the benefit of reducing mental burnout. As we all know, the Jets are playing in the Hall of Fame game, 4 preseason games. Training camp does start a week early. So, when you have a guy in Aaron Rodgers, you can make the argument that mental burnout is a real thing, and it's not a 100% necessity for everybody to be participating in a 3-day period. It would be different if we were in a position like the Houston Texans, or kind of like how the Jets were a year ago, right? We're a super young team, bunch of new faces all over the place, draft picks, free agent acquisition, Zach Wilson going into year 2, still a really young coaching staff overall. But again, if this decision is coming from the Jets organization, from the coaching staff, hey, let's give them the whatever it is, 40 days off, then there has to be some method to the madness here. And I do feel like the mental burnout thing is real, especially looking at the veteran players. And last but not least, you can say that one thing that does soften the blow to a certain degree is having the offensive coordinator as a former play caller in numerous stops. We can talk about Jacksonville, we can talk about Buffalo, right? He has worked with Aaron Rodgers, Billy Turner, Tim Boyle, Randall Cobb before. So it's not like, we get a new OC and he doesn't know anybody, right? He's looking at the team like, oh man, I don't know any strengths, any weaknesses of anybody here. I really have to put a lot of time into building relationships. He already knows A-Rod. He knows Randall Cobb. He knows Tim Boyle. And by the way, 2 quarterbacks here, I think that's important to kind of bring up. 2 guys that are essentially coaches on the field. So now if Rodgers, if Cobb, if Tim Boyle want to connect with other players, right, other weapons on the offense, or even defenders, they can help further instill the Hackett system, the Hackett knowledge, in these little player get-togethers, stuff like that. It's not like we just have to bring our playbook to the field and kind of try to attempt to go over it because Hackett's not here. We're not doing mandatory minicamp. No, these guys have been around Hackett before, so you can say that. You can say that it does soften the blow, that there is a massive familiar face at the OC position. Let's shift gears and talk about some of the cons. The big one here is less time on the football field. Less time on the field to practice. Less time to build chemistry, continuity, relationships. Less time for meetings. Less time with coaches. It's just less time. And, I've seen the stories already, right? Where it's like, classic Jets. They're finally in win now mode. They take on this big Aaron Rodgers contract. They trade away these picks to go get A-Rod. Win now, Super Bowl aspirations. And we're skipping mandatory minicamp. We're canceling practice. I understand that this is just a 3-day period here. We're not talking about a 3-week long thing or a 3-month long sort of camp here or anything like that. It's just 3 days, but a lot happens in these 3 days. That's why mandatory minicamp is a thing. That's why so many teams have it. They participate in it. They look forward to it. The coaching staff looks forward to this period. It's not like these guys are just showing up to the facility, clocking in for an hour, and then, bouncing out after practice. You can literally spend all day there, soaking up information, getting on the same page with coaches and players, putting in extra work. So many different things that you can do. And that is simply not going to be taking place. Again, I do think there has to be, the pros outweigh the cons in the eyes of the Jets coaching staff. We're going to see how it plays out here. But, I hate to say it, I could see if the Jets were to struggle earlier, if there's mistakes or if there's rust, there's going to be, pundits, national, the talking heads, if you will, say, oh, well, you know what? They shouldn't have skipped mandatory minicamp. This is what happens. Again, there's a lot that happens in the 3 days, but it is just 3 days at the end of the day. So will it make or break the Jets season? No, probably not. I think if I was running the team, if I was Saleh, I would still keep it, understanding the importance of the season. And, you can, looking at the mental burnout point before, you can push back and say, dude, it's 3 days. Our players are NFL players that are getting paid millions and millions of dollars that have so much riding on this season. going to, feel this mental fatigue, feel this mental burnout with the extra 3 days at mandatory minicamp? Probably not. I mean, maybe for some guys, sure, but not for the entire building. I don't think it would put a curse or a dark cloud above the organization. So that's kind of my take on it. Again, I would love to hear yours down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. And as always, go Jets.